Greg Valentine, yes, we are doing a shoot interview with him, but everyone wants to know what the heat was between Greg Valentine and I. It happened around 2011. I was associated with other YouTube channels in the past. It was out there in the past. We haven't really talked about it since 2011, but it was a big deal at the time because we had used Greg Valentine in Great North Wrestling at that point from 2007 to 2011 on a regular basis. He was one of the legends that helped put Great North Wrestling on the map in the early days of Great North Wrestling. And I considered him a friend of mine because we would drive to shows together. We made radio appearances together. After Macho Man passed away, I was close with Lanny Poffo at the time. I'm not close with Lanny Poffo anymore, but he was friends with me, and I asked for his blessing to put on the official Macho Man Memorial Show, which is actually on the Hannibal TV for anyone that wants to look that up. And the main event for that Macho Man Memorial Show was supposed to be Greg Valentine, who was a friend of Macho Man's, versus Lanny Poffo. Jay Lethal, who everyone knows is a huge Macho Man fan and a huge Macho Man impressionist, was also on that card. He, of course, has gone on to be Ring of Honor World Champion, headlining Madison Square Garden. And at the time, Macho Man was one of my idols growing up. When I used to have backyard wrestling matches, starting at the time I was 5 or 6 years old, I often played Macho Man. So his death actually hit me very hard, thinking back to that time. So it meant a lot to me to put on that show. And basically, a couple days before the show, Greg Valentine, who I'd already sent a deposit to, called me up and said he had just looked at his flight. Now, he had this flight for quite a long time, and he said he did not want to take the flight, and he said he was not going to get on the flight unless I sent him the full amount of money in advance. Now, it's very unusual for that to happen. I did only do that with one other person in the past, which was Goldust, who also ended up no-showing the show. But now let me just say, Goldust, it's well documented. He had a pill issue for a number of years, and that was during his dark period where that happened. So for Greg Valentine, he told me if I sent him the money, he swore on a stack of Bibles he would show up to the show. And the plane ticket I had for him was a combined hotel and flight, and he ended up not getting on the flight, and he no-showed the official Macho Man Randy Savage memorial show. So that actually, anytime a wrestler no-shows, it hurts a company's credibility. Bret Hart actually no-showed the very first Great North Wrestling event, and we had a huge crowd for that, and that hurt our company. Took us several years to overcome that. But this also hurt our company because it was a high-profile show, and he no-showed. Not one person that night took a refund, not a single person, and there was about 1,000 people in the building. But it hurt us in the future. The next year, when we came back to that same town, even though we had Scott Steiner, who has always been a great draw for us, we did not draw as many people. So it definitely hurt our reputation. He never ended up paying me the deposit back and the rest of the whole money back. But he's part of my deal with the shoot interview I'm doing with him, which will already be out by the time this airs, is we're putting our past behind us and we're moving forward because we were friends, and he can still be a big part of my channel, and I'm going to run into him at conventions. He's an older guy. There's no point in me fighting him at this point. We're just going to let bygones be bygones. So that's it. I'm considering it case closed for Greg Valentine and I, if that shoot interview happens, which I believe it will.